Wait for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a large group of women. Can I get that sheet and I'll just kind of read through everyone's.
Chairman Patterson. Here. Mr. Wenke.
Present.
Mr. Fulton.
Present.
Mr. Lund.
Present.
And Mr. Van Dorn.
Present.
And Town Manager
Here.
Patterson. Right.
Okay, so since we have a large group of people, rather than have everyone stand and state their name, I'm going to just read through this list. Has everybody signed it? Did everyone sign in when they came through? Okay. So Barry Keene, 221 Bold Domingo Lane, Randy Wilhelm, 6 Prestone Court, Don Cook, 325 East Main Street, Silver Cliff, Twyla Giroux, 1100 County Road 160, Dennis Bruns, 140 Sundeck Drive, Becky Bruns, 140 Sundeck Drive, Joni Wilcox, 315 Gabbert Drive, Stephen Wilcox, 315 Gabbert Drive, Laura Paquette, 409 South 4th Street, Mary and Paul Zawacki, 129 Sundeck Drive, Brad and Marlis Hartbauer, 401 South Fourth Street, Charles Bogle, 2362 Black Fawn Lane, Jeremiah Coleman, 408 Fifth Street, George Mowry, 404 South Second Street, Elliot Judison, Wet Mountain Tribune, Rat Mitt, that lives at, Mitchell, Ruth Mitchell, I got it. It took me a minute,
Well, it's like you stayed together.
right?
Why don't we do that?
Rock Kanda, 404 South Fifth Street, Jerry Peters, 409 South Fifth Street, Deborah Underwood, 810 South Fifth Street, Chuck Yago, 310 South Fifth Street. Miss anybody here? We've got someone coming in, a couple people coming in right now. Has everyone had a chance to approve or review the minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion's made and second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 6 is old business and we have none. Item 7 is a public hearing of continuing discussion on the possible rezoning of block 17 and 18, 19 and 20, 33 and 34 to town-owned lots multifamily district. I need to read this. Oh, first, let me read the additional attendees. Audrey Pliszka, 840 Coronado Road, Brock Flynn, 705 Shining Mountain Road, Dave Schneider, Round Mountain Water. So since this is a public hearing, I've got to read this script. This is a public hearing regarding possible rezoning of block 17 and 18, 19 and 20, 33 and 34, town-owned lots to multifamily district. The hearing is quasi judicial matter and the Board of Trustees is not acting as a legislative body, but the judiciary in this matter. Board of Trustees decisions will be based on evidence presented in this hearing as it applies to the Land Use Development Code, and such decisions will not be persuaded by popular opinion. As such, the Board of Trustees will only consider the evidence in the record of hearing, including public comment by interested parties. Okay, so Caleb, I don't know if you'd like to continue the discussion with this.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so on the discussion as from 2 weeks ago, we did stop at designation of lots number 2 on page 42. So if you guys have your packet, please turn to page 42 where it describes designation of lots.
I have no computer, I have nothing.
Oh, well, I can also, I'm on the Zoom, so I can actually put it up on that screen too, if that does help.
Whatever, you want to do that.
So do you want to wait for the computers?
Well, I mean, you can go ahead and start while we get that.
You want your Chrome numbers?
Yeah, I mean, and Paul doesn't have one and I don't think Bob has his.
Caleb, before you start,
Yes, sir.
at the last meeting, I think that there were a lot of people in the audience, so I'm not here right now. But I've had a lot of concerns about what we want to do and so forth, and some of the data we had was, well, we didn't have a lot of data. I would like, as one person of the planning committee, to slow this process down and talk to Caleb about it. And that is, I would like to hear from the property owners themselves. Now, we do have a list of them, not a lot of them live in West Cliff. Some are here today, I see them in the audience. but only a handful live in Weston or the surrounding area. But I would like to hear directly from those people whose property would be affected, may be affected positively or negatively, that's in their mind as to what it would be, whether or not. I'd like to hear from them first, before we proceed with anything. The second thing I would like to do is, we had some data that, was developed in 23, Caleb?
22.
I'm sorry,
2022.
22. I'd like to see if we can get that updated by the firm that did it, which essentially said that we had a need for 35 dwellings of some kind that would accommodate low-income housing. It didn't say what type of housing, just said that was the need now. And then they projected a future need of 70 dwellings, apartments, homes, whatever. I would like that updated, so we have a better database here of just exactly what we're dealing with. There's a lot of other questions that need to be answered internally for the board. I'll speak as a mayor now. I think the board needs to discuss some things regarding infrastructure, who's going to be responsible for that, and those kinds of things. Engineering, drainage, all those things need to be looked at before we jump too far into the breach. So I just brought that up, and I would like to hear your comments as citizens of Westbrook. And I know a lot of people made those comments last time. And you know what your concerns are. We all want to know that. So I interjected that as a member of this body, not as mayor. So I'm sorry, Christine.
No, you're, that's fine. Any other comments from the board right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We need to listen to what people have to say. And I think maybe this meeting, the most important thing we're going to do is listen to the people, the audience. But I wanted to give some context to why we're here, why we're having this discussion. To many of you, it may seem kind of messy. We all have to operate, all the people here in front, in the open. We have to kind of think out loud, which can make us look kind of foolish sometimes. But this whole project comes out of the update of the master plan we did for the town over several weeks, months, meeting in workshops. Those were open meetings. We didn't have anybody show up. I think we had one person on Zoom one time. But we went over the whole master plan for the town, hadn't been updated for many years. And so this project came out of that effort. So I wanted to read some things here that might make some sense, give you context of how we got to where we are today. But we had, first of all, we framed a new vision for the town. And that vision is by 2030, West Cliff will be ranked as one of the top 10 most desirable small towns to live and work in Southern Colorado. As part of that, we looked at 25 other towns in Southern Colorado that you might think of as our competitors, and looked at a range of metrics and to see how we compare. Of course, one of the things that will weaken, and maybe other towns will weaken, is housing. We have a housing need for our essential workers that we're not meeting right now. We have a deficit of like 30 units right now based on a study that's 2 years old. I don't think that situation has gotten better in 2 years. We also have a deficit in housing choice. We are mostly a community of single-family dwellings. So we don't have townhomes. We have a few condominiums. But for a lot of people coming here, they're looking for something other than a single-family home. And in the past several years, things have gotten quite expensive. We used to be kind of a bargain. Now we're an expensive place to live. Compared with those 25 other towns, we're kind of right in the middle in terms of median home price. The other thing we looked at was what's the town's mission? And mission is basically a statement of purpose. What's our reason for being as a town government? And so we came up with 4 bullet points on that. To provide and maintain safe pedestrian walkways, roads, parking, broadband, and public space, parks and trails, infrastructure. So basically infrastructure. In partnership with other entities to provide water, sewer, and electric power infrastructure. Again, in partnership with the county, provide for the health, welfare, and safety of our residents and visitors. And lastly, and I think this is where this project falls, to promote the economic development, growth, and vitality of the town. And so why develop that vacant property that is like an orphan right now in terms of infrastructure? No one can do anything with that land. It's really the lack of affordable housing for essential workers, teachers, first responders, and the like. The lack of housing choices I mentioned, but all of that is a drag on our current and future economic vitality. There's very little room for expansion in West Cliff. We're kind of captured in 1.25 square mile footprint. We don't have a lot of places to go, especially walkable places to develop. So that piece of property looks extremely attractive if we can bring infrastructure, water, sewer infrastructure into it, roads, streets, sidewalks on top of that. And we have an opportunity to finance that if we take action on the zoning and increase density in that area and provide housing that is truly affordable for some of our essential workers. And that's, I think one other point I'd like to make is this should be considered a 10 to 20 year project. You're not going to see all of this built out in 2 or 3 years. It's just not going to happen. It's a long-term look at the housing needs of the town. And the first is just to play catch up and fill the deficit in housing that we have now. And then to stay ahead of it so that deficit doesn't return. So that's all. Thank you, Christy.
Thanks, Tom.
Christy, I might add for everybody, the town owns, what, like 20% of the lots. The rest of them are all privately owned, so.
Yes.
So it's not like, you know, the whole thing could be done at one time. And this is 10, 20 year thing, so keep that in mind. The town owns a section in the far northeast corner of this,
Adjacent to Highway 69.
adjacent to 69, across from West Cliff Inn.
And Ace.
So then I would say let's go ahead and get some comments. You can start with some comments and I mean. You can start with, go ahead. If you have to come to the podium, state your name, please.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for an opportunity to speak today. My name's Paul Zawacki. My wife bought the first property in one of those blocks over 40 years ago. We've added to it since, twice more. We're very attached to it. We don't want to see this project go through. We think it's ill-conceived. We think it's very high risk and very low reward. But my biggest concern is we've got 2 or 3 things that define this community. And one is our ranching heritage. The other is our views. If you compare our town to the 25 other towns that you did in Southern Colorado, I question whether or not any of them would have the views that we do. And the wide open spaces, and primarily the wide open spaces was a body of work done in the late 1970s by a handful of citizens and county commissioners that did us all a tremendous favor. This is one of the last unspoiled valleys left in the entire Western US. If you look at Aspen, it's destroyed. If you look at Steamboat, it's gone. Any Pickett, Breckenridge, you name it, they're all terrible. Even right up the road here in Salida, it's been overdeveloped and it hasn't solved the problem for cheap housing. 2-bedroom condominium over there, $700,000 right now. It's not going to be the answer. But my concern is it'll forever change the character of this community irrevocably. More importantly, I'm concerned about the timing of this. It seems like we're trying to push through zoning changes right now when we haven't even started the study whether or not we need this. I know, Caleb, you were looking at that. You were trying to bundle some funds. I think that's the wrong thing to do, to rezone it before we even know if this is needed. And I have one question for both the mayor and for the town manager today. If this goes through against the better wishes of your constituents, if this rezoning goes through, and if we don't get the funding, the free money, the lure, will you give us a commitment today that you'll put the zoning back to single family in the way that it was?
We could answer it like, yeah, but I don't think the answer that right now. Go ahead.
Well, I think I mentioned that I wanted to take get the input from the property owners in that area, people like you. Why did you buy that lot? Your wife inherited it and you added to it.
No, she bought it. She didn't inherit
Okay.
it. She bought
So
it.
that just
It was a plan over 40 years ago to build up here together
sorry, so
and retired.
so you would have built a dwelling on it and services.
Yes, we may have done that.
So that could still happen. Whether we rezone it or not, it is zoned as single family. And I've made this clear to Jacob, Caleb, and I think the board that we have a right to rezone this by law. There's nothing anybody could do about it. Well, I don't want to rezone anything and take rights away from people, period. And so my personal attitude as mayor is I would not support something that the population did not support. Is that clear?
That's what we want to hear.
So the planning committee is different. I'm just a member of the planning committee. This is the chairman. And I'm just saying that I made it clear that I don't want to be taking, now, if there's just one party in that whole subdivision that doesn't want to do this, the rest do, that's a different matter.
Have we polled the owners?
Well, we are trying, I think. We've gotten some feedback and now, Caleb, from a couple,
Yes, sir.
2 or 3 that want to sell.
2 or 3 that were
They
for
want
it.
to do this.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I haven't seen any poll on that.
I went ahead and I just went on the assessor's website and I just looked at all the lots out there and I have a copy of all the property owners out there. And something I would like to see happen is whether it's a survey with the, return envelope, so it's very easy, or through emails for people to let their opinion that own out
I
there.
think that'd be a wise thing to do.
Let it be known. There's only, I believe, 25 property owners out there in addition, 26 with the town of Westboro. So it shouldn't be that hard to see what people are wanting. I also noted in looking through all of the owners that a lot of it are, people have had it for many, many, many years, or it's been willed through, family back in the 1940s and 50s and 60s, and they had this, and now it's the next generation, so it's not even like, for the most part, people didn't just like go out and buy that ground out there. So that's just my opinion on what I'd like to see done with that, so. And I agree with Paul that I'm not saying I think this is a bad idea at all, but that it does need to slow down and that there are a lot of things that need to be looked at infrastructure wise, and beyond.
Good, I hope you listen to the constituents that aren't residents, that are property owners.
Right, well, and we've got, absolutely.
Good.
Well, if you'd like me to address that question, I can. It is my job to advise the board of trustees as well as the planning commission. I would not put anything in front of the planning commission that has not been talked about during the master plan. So here we are. You brought up a few points, and one of them, that was you bought 40 years ago with plans to do something with it. You haven't then, and frankly, I don't think without this infrastructure, you will. If I could put this infrastructure in and have it all single family, I would do so, but I can't. So I'll read off some key points with this grant. People always assume there's always, things attached to a grant. That's not always true with grants, but with this one, it is true. One point is compact development, multifamily housing options, housing density, affordable housing, growth management, and then it goes into districts and subdivisions. So those are a few points broader points that the grant encompasses that I have put with this zoning. You mentioned other valleys being ruined. Westcliff is very small. We are 1.5 square kilometers old, and I might be butchering that. So if somebody wants to fact check on me, please do so. With a population of roughly 550 people. I don't think this is gonna ruin the town at all. What will ruin the town is urban sprawl. If we don't plan for a compact area that'll take up less land, and you mentioned views. I checked views the other day, like you asked me, sir. And Yoder's across the street is from the ground up is 20 foot. Across the street, we measured down below 12, 15 feet. So negative 12, 15 feet plus the 20 is roughly 35. So it would probably be the same. So I think building in a smaller, more contained area helps with growth over time rather than sprawling anywhere. And if the town does sprawl, it'll go north, higher in elevation, and we'll take up more land. So I think this is a good happy medium between the two.
This is where we differ in opinion, and then I'll yield time to somebody else.
Yes, sir.
I think it's a deal with the devil, and it shouldn't be done.
And I just want to say,
I
that
don't know what that means.
I've looked at, so I read through the information about the various grant monies and, what DOLA is talking about and strategies and fact sheets, that's what I'm looking at right now. And, one of the things that I was seeing is that and I wish the DOLA rep could be here today, but that the Department of Local Affairs stance is that there's a problem with housing right now across the state, across the United States. And they are open to ideas. It doesn't have to be one way or no way. And then they actually listed out various communities and some stances that they've taken. So I don't feel that this is just a one and done type of situation. I think from what I have read, this is something that we could work and find what might work well for this community and take into consideration our size, our, what we need, the property owners out there. And and come to some kind of a consensus. And if we go to Dolo with a solid plan that, addresses their concerns about how the need for more housing, and we address our concerns with we want housing that's affordable for people that are working here. That, from what I heard at the last meeting, there was concerns about, well, it's just gonna all be Section 8. And so how do we address that? And so how do we make it to where there's housing for people that are working in our community so that they can live in our community? And it sounds to me, when I've read, that they're pretty open to bring an idea, and then they put you in they use you as an example of, look, this is how you can make it work. So I don't think it's just we have to make super dense 4-story or 3-story or whatever apartment complexes and call it a day. So that's why we do need to hear from the public, and we do need to hear what people would like out there. So, because there is a chance to develop it, maybe. Who else has any?
My name is Audrey Blushka, and I live in rural Custer County. What about Silver Cliff?
What is that one?
Silver Cliff. There's a lot of land out there. Why do we have to take this on as our problem? It's a community problem, and Silver Cliff has a lot of land. And I'm not against extra housing. Those cabins are great, but what's been thrown out to me is just deplorable. What would happen to our little town of West Cliff, and the views are huge. And I'm sorry, Caleb, but when you said that, it made me lose a lot of credibility. Also, this grant is offered annually, isn't it?
I think that this grant, like sunsets, like the 2027 or 2026.
There will be less funding for the grant for the More Housing Now under the EIAF grant starting next year. It is, you can apply for it 3 times a year, April, August, and December.
But it's pretty much an ongoing grant, isn't it?
I would not say it's ongoing. At some point, legislature will change.
Well, yeah, but it's not a grant that's really hard to come by.
Well, to respond to it,
I would.
I think that we need to determine what it is we want to do and get the input from the community, et cetera. We may miss this grant cycle. We'll just have to apply for it next year, but I don't want to apply for the grant until we have a good solid plan. I think that would make it more likely to get the plant grant than less likely. So, just saying.
But
We have a need, and just to respond, Silver Cliff has a plan for tiny homes. There's nothing on the property. It's been like that for over a year and nothing has happened. So I don't know what their plan is. I've talked about it a number of times. They have a plan, but nothing is maturing there. So I don't know, we need to have something for our workers to live in. I think, would you say, Melanie, minimum wage is now
1465.
14.30 or something like that
1423.
here in Colorado.
Yeah.
So that's about $30,000 a year just for somebody who's got no skills at all. They really can't afford anything. I mean, we need those kinds of workers, unfortunately. We need them to train in my business or in the grocery store or other places to run those businesses. And it hurts the business community not to be able to have them. Maybe you have to shut down earlier, or you have to close a day because you don't have enough help.
So what about a potential joint town meeting with Silver Cliff to discuss that? Because that was,
We can certainly organize that, sure.
because I feel, why should we take on this burden? It's a burden for both towns and the county.
And the county.
And it is necessary, I agree, but I love those little bungalows. The several three-story units is just appalling to me. here in West Cliff. I mean, there is an obvious need, and I agree, but the bungalows are just actually very charming.
You talk about bungalows, I'm not sure which.
Behind the dome,
All those, yes.
yes, yes. And also too, is there a place where we can go to read this actual grant? Because I know you mentioned some of the highlights, but there's also, I'm sure, certain details and a caveat that comes with it.
What is that?
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like to, anybody would like to email me, I'll give you all the resources I have for this grant. You could look it up yourself, DOLA, EIAF, More Housing Now. The points that I hit from were actually from a slide they did, some local municipality training that they used to grade it, to grade the grant, so.
So that the actual grant is in there, the actual grant application and
Well,
the,
everything, I mean, strategies, I mean, DOLA gives it to you, it gives it all to yourself.
okay. It's just, I just feel that this is just getting rushed through and, you know, once it gets done, we're not gonna back.
Did you not hear what I said at the beginning?
Yes.
I'm gonna slow this down.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
And if I may, ma'am, we have to talk about this in the public. So
Oh,
any moving forward is what we're doing right now at all. It's not that we're rushing, it's just in order to even try, this is what we've got to do.
And I hope in true sincerity that the board does listen to the citizens, not that they've already made up their mind. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, just come up to the podium.
Hello, my name is Stephen Wilcox. Like Caleb, he's a smart young man. He's short on experience, so some of you guys look like you had some more experience. I'm gonna tell a story. It happened to Doc Leo. 44 years ago, I moved to a small place similar to these two towns. There's three of them, okay? Roy Rogers lived in one of them. They were nice little towns. Same thing happened. Oh, we don't have enough housing, so they got a grant to build affordable housing. Okay? As years went by, that wasn't enough. So then it came in, the state had to do the building, okay? By the time I lived there 40 years. By the time I left, our nice little town, okay, first off, Roy Rogers' place had earned a nickname Felony Flats. Okay, that's Apple Valley, California. Okay. Secondly, I guess this is kind of a side. When I moved there, we had June bugs, we had horned toads. Okay. When I left, there were gang signs painted on our stop signs, both ends of our block. There was a break into the house where they took the people, tied them up, and stole them 2 houses away from us. Less than a block away, there was a drive-by shooting. You know? And back to the insects. All we had was cockroaches. Plus a lot of people that were criminals. You do this, you're gonna have people come from Denver. They're not gonna be the kind of people you want. I would like you to address this in the private sector. I'm sure there's people here that be willing in the private sector, in fact, I know at least one, to address this program. You know, so 40 years down the road, do you want your place to be a place that you don't want to live? It's up to you guys.
Hey, I know a bunch of y'all in Brock Flynn. I've lived here for 23 years, some of them good, some of them bad. Seen the town flourish and explode like it has, and then I've seen it contract. I know that we need, I'm gonna tie a story to this. I know that we need affordable housing for the people who provide the services to the town. We've got a beautiful place here, and we're going forward. We're in the infancy right now. And it was even more so when I moved here. We can choose to be Aspen or Jackson Hole, or we can choose to be Leadville. Nobody really cares about going to Leadville because it's not all that nice. As much as we like to build the next great town in the West, we don't have Ski Mountain. And that's going to keep us from doing a lot of stuff. And realistically, we do need places for our workers to live. But let's be honest, we really need those places for those workers to live about 6 months out of the year. Because in the winter, businesses close up. our tourism amounts to people driving from Texas to go to Breckenridge. And that's the truth, and it's always been that way. When I was a kid, I grew up on a farm in Tennessee, Cutting-Tobacco. And all the people from town that, you know, the farmhand types would come out and work on our farm. And of course, I didn't get a chance to get out of it. I had to be there anyway. And along around the 90s, welfare and government assistance got to be so good that they didn't show up anymore. We still had tobacco to cut. So we had to bring in migrant workers, stayed 4 months, from Mexico. We green carded them, and we had the same problem this town has because we had to have a place for those dudes to live while they were going to work for us. And what we did ultimately was we found a house to rent in Cottontown, which is about 20 minutes down the road, and we put them up. I don't think this grant is a good idea for us. I think it will wreck the valley. And as a guy, I own mountain land property, so when people come here, they're coming here because they don't see what they see in Salida and see what they see in Leadville. They come here for this freaking charming, beautiful town. And I guess the reason I told you the story is there's another answer besides this grant. And truthfully, the private sector can probably take care of it if there is enough of demand. And if the town wants to get behind some of it and say, okay, we're going to build some houses for some firefighters or teachers or something like that. And then we take money in the valley, labor in the valley, and we build the existing floor plan we've got or the existing zoning we've got. And it's beautiful. And one of the jobs you mentioned, your duties as being here and being on the city thing, one of them is to protect people's values, property values. And if you come in and say, we're going to get some workers, we're going to build this abomination that nobody wants to look at, and it hurts people's surrounding and the whole town's property values, you didn't do anybody any favors. Think about it.
Ms. I'll respond to one thing you said.
Go ahead.
Any construction we would do would no doubt be done by local contractors.
That would have to be for bid.
Excuse me?
No, I don't think you can guarantee that. You have to put that bid out.
Well, we're not, listen, you need to understand one thing. The property that we have as a town, okay, that we have as a town, there is some acreage, obviously about 7 acres, it's on the east side of the highway. That we are not gonna be, we're not gonna be landlords, the town is not gonna be. Whoever would wanna build there would have to buy the property from Westcliff, then they could build. Just like they would any so lot.
Once you relinquish control of the property, if you've made lenient zoning rules, they can max it out.
Well, we can control that, we can control that.
No, you're gonna change the zoning. It's the zoning set. You're gonna do your plans around the zoning. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on that. Number 3 on page 42, all building plans and architectural designs must be submitted to the planning commission for review and consideration in order to allow for higher density, proper planning, aesthetically pleasing building practices. So doesn't necessarily mean just because someone has the land, they get to build whatever they want. They're gonna have to go in front of the planning commission regardless.
But high density is the problem.
And I'd like to comment on that in a second. Well, I'll comment on that now.
Yeah.
So, like Ms. Patterson said, it does not have to be this way or the highway, right? It doesn't have to be one or the other. I put 3 stories. I put 3 stories because I felt like it would give us a higher likelihood of getting the grant. I think I know for a fact it's cheaper to go up rather than go out. And I know that I haven't looked at everywhere over Custer County and thought, man, after we do this, I'm gonna expand this way. I've never done that. I looked at what we've had and what we can work with and thought, well, if we can kind of get the 6 blocks, keep it there, that would, I think help with growth a lot, but it does not need to be 3 blocks. 3 stories. If needed, it can be brought down to 2, but even then I hesitate because I don't think it makes us as competitive in the grant application. So.
Yeah, I just want to point out that 3 stories falls within the current 35-foot height limit of the town. Ace Hardware, which is a beautiful building, Paul did a great job with that, is 34 foot high. and a bigger footprint than any of these apartment buildings would be.
But it's a commercial building.
It is a nice commercial building.
It is.
But I'm still saying 35 feet, I can build a house in my Adams subdivision where I live now and go 35 feet high.
Sure, and that's fine, but the problem is when we start doing multifamily buildings, that changes the entire character of that part of town. And the people who join that, and it also changes the character of the park.
Depends on the design of the buildings.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. You can't put a chunk three stories high and make it cohesive with what the rest of the valley is and the rest of the town is.
Well, it's gonna be on Highway 69.
Which is even worse, because now everybody's gotta look at it. I mean, you could do something like this behind the rodeo grounds and probably you wouldn't get raise a hackle. Sorry, okay, didn't mean to bust anybody there. But at the same time, you're putting in such a prominent location. I mean, like, could you pick a more prominent location?
What else? I mean, where else would you think about? Because when I look at this, I have to think about cost and what can fit into the grant. And it
I'm
just.
saying the grant's not for Custer County.
Well, I just have to, if I were to look at that, right, to solve the housing crisis, it's gonna be pretty darn expensive to go ahead and run water and sewer underneath the ground to go anywhere.
Yet
else
another reason
that
not to
you'd
do
like
this.
And with the grant, right, if we're just gonna get some of our tax dollars back, getting the state to pay 75% of that, while we pay 25%, that's a pretty good deal.
It's really, it's gonna have long-term implications that are not good for the valley. That's just a fact.
And Brock, I
Yeah,
also
go ahead.
want to say that, one thing we had talked about a little bit in the last meeting was that since this is sort of untouched ground out there, we can create another zoning district that isn't just multifamily or single family, and we can put restrictions and sort of have like, almost like how you have I'm just gonna use like a commercial district as an example. So, or we've modified our commercial district where it's legal for people to live upstairs and it used to be. So we could create a zone that would address.
I got a question for y'all. Less than a year ago, because of our sewer situation, if I understand correctly, we weren't issuing any new taps. How do we get around the idea that we're simultaneously gonna add a ton of taps without significantly upgrading our sewer handling abilities?
That's already happened.
It has. How much more can we handle? I mean, there is a limit on anything we do.
According to, sir, we have somebody here from, David.
You wanna tell us?
Yeah, David.
Sure.
You come up then?
I've been by fire.
Yeah. So here's where we are at Brown Mountain. So I was approached by this potential project. So we're managers of the existing water and sewer. We don't see ourselves as developers.
Okay.
We're managers. So we looked at the potential of what they were putting in. On the water side, we're actually water rich.
For now.
Well, no, we've done some really smart things. We have put in a new well, we can double our production that we used to be able to do. So we could actually, on the water side, double the population that's there. No problem.
How about the food?
The food is another deal. So we have been working the last 8 years to try to find a solution that's affordable. There's solutions out there, but we can't afford them. So the reality is we have 730 taps. Median household income within our district's only 41,000. So that's not a big rate to squeeze. So how do we find something that we need? So we have been working with the state. The state has approved us doing a demonstration project with new technology. The reality here is, even if you okayed this thing and it went through, it would take almost 4 years before somebody would actually flush the soil. By the time the infrastructure went in, the building, all that. And we're projecting that we'll have a solution by then.
Well, we don't have it now. Okay.
So
Okay, I'd just like to ask one more question, then maybe, other people take podium too.
Sure, I'll sit down, I'm done.
The question is, are you opposed to multifamily housing or are you opposed to low income housing?
I'm opposed to multifamily, and the reason is, it's not,
Define multifamily, would you, for me, you're.
okay, sure.
Duplex?
Duplex, yeah. We've got, the reason people come, the reason that the town commands these houses, command, in my opinion, a ludicrous value, is because people come here to get away from precisely what we're talking about building. And that's, I'm more like the Onceler from, other places you'll go with suckers who's, we've got a good thing here. We can screw it up real easy. The market will ultimately take care of our housing needs, because at some point, the market will demand these people, someone will have an opportunity to fill it, maybe with just building smaller single-family buildings on those two lots, on pairs of lots, like we are. The water's a huge problem. And because the water and the sewer, the idea of a pumping station to pump poop up so we can then lower it back down, well, the power goes out, your poop doesn't move. I mean, that's a problem.
That's what we're doing right now. Everything flows by gravity to a lift station across. from
Still does?
From
Okay.
the Mennonite church. There's a huge backup generator there that picks it up in case we have a power outage.
Okay, I didn't know that part.
So that's how it works now.
But still, it would change the whole character of the town of West Cliff. And I don't think it'd be good for the property values, to be honest with you. Again, we can be Leadville or we can be Aspen. I'd much rather us be Aspen. We've been compared to nice towns like Jackson Hole. The last thing we want to do is cut our own legs out from under us financially, because we brought in some affordable housing. I'm a true believer in the market. The market will solve all this.
I'll challenge you for the next meeting. I would like you to find a half a dozen free market solutions to affordable housing somewhere in the United States and bring them back to the table.
I don't even have to look. The market takes care of itself.
No. Give me
Okay.
real life examples of free market solutions to affordable housing in this country.
I'll give you one right now. And I've had to live it, like many people have. You work somewhere. You can't live right where you work because it's too expensive. So you live outside of town somewhere cheaper and you commute in. That's a real world example, and that's the way it works in most of America.
That's the driver for sprawl all over.
I understand that. That is the way it works, but changing the focal point of the valley, which is this beautiful little town with the trees and the parks and stuff like that, so that we can, in theory, protect further development out, it's not gonna happen. Ultimately, it's not gonna happen.
Question, where would these people come from? Rye? Pueblo?
Copper Gulch, Silver Cliff,
Houses aren't really any cheaper out there?
they will be again. And yeah, and that's the other thing, is I didn't even bring this up. We're riding a normalcy bias right now. COVID came in, and because we're a small town and we didn't get all goofy about masks, people loved coming here, and the economy's been raging and people have had money to travel and vacation, and that's all good. But I've seen it the other way too. And you build a bunch of housing that ultimately we have a 5 or 6 month economy. You're gonna bring these people in. I mean, like your teachers are good and your emergency guys are good. But if you're worried about satiating the grocery store and some restaurants, most of those restaurants have to cut back on their hours. A lot of there's stores in town that just close during the winter. We don't have it, and we're not gonna have it.
Does it have to be that way?
Yes, it does. Until you get me a ski mountain, it's gotta be that way.
So I.
Until you get me a
I
river to
disagree.
raft down, it's gonna
Well,
be.
I'd like to,
Okay, go for
to
it.
speak real quick. Thank you. I don't think that this town has to close down. I don't think we need restaurants to close down, so that people have to go look for work in other places. I think there are solutions to a problem that we can solve that really isn't out of reach as far as you think it is. We had 5 restaurants, and just in our core commercial area alone, I think within the last year that closed down. I don't think that that's very healthy for a town at all. In fact, I don't think that's normal at all.
No.
Hold on.
Seasonal.
The other, and it does not have to be that way. We don't have to have restaurants being able to make up the money to barely survive through the winter. We don't need that. And it does not need to keep happening. We don't need to have restaurants close down because they can barely afford to open up there. Second off, pay their workers. I spoke to Chris from Chappies and he came in last month as well. He has a hard time getting employees and he pays them, well, I think he paid them, last time my conversation with him was 17 an hour, which is pretty decent. He has a hard time finding employees. They gotta come all the way up closer to Pulpo Gulch area and he loses them out to the businesses in Canyon because it's easier for them just to work out in Canyon. So that was from another small business owner and he's the only Madison Cafes restaurant owner that's left in the poor commercial area. I mean, Beast is right next to it, closed down. He's packed. If you go in there, he's packed. There's obviously a demand.
How long?
Can we move on? Wait a minute,
Respectful, please. I'm not being disrespectful.
we need to move on to the next person that would like to speak. Who, is there anyone? Okay, Laura, let him first. Okay. Sure.
Some of you know me. I grew up here. Born and raised. Moved away for a while.
Sure.
I'm Chuck Young. Sorry about that. I'm afraid that this town is headed where Florence was before the prison went in. If you guys remember what Florence was before the prison went in, it was dang near dead. Walsenburg is almost dead. You go down to Walsenburg, when I used to go to wrestle in Walsenburg, we used to, oh yeah, let's go to Walsenburg, there's all kinds of fun stuff to do down there. There ain't crap down there, there's maybe one fast food, maybe two fast food down there, and it looks like hell. All right, we're headed that way. Because we can't sustain the people that need to work in the valley.
Well,
You don't think so?
let's let,
How long have you lived here?
over 30 years.
I've been here since 60.
No, Chuck, let's focus.
But anyway, we need to do something where we have the potential of disappearing. There's other towns that have disappeared. A lot of people have moved in here and they like the charm and the valley and the house and the town. But when you guys came, most of these people who came in with money, were able to build and buy and do whatever the heck it is that they wanted to do. The people that are working in the restaurants, the grocery store that somebody thinks we don't need. We need them. We need these people. And like was mentioned, people are coming from Canyon City. The EM supervisor was commuting from Canyon City every day up here. She still might be, I don't know, but she was. We have the opportunity to do a little bit to try to help it. The town can only grow. We're only at, what is it? Caleb said a kilometer and a half.
Mile and a quarter square.
Mile and a quarter square for English units. Yes, so we don't have a lot of place to sprawl to. I don't think, the ranches that own the land around us are planning on giving it up to make communities. I don't think they were. I grew up with Darrell Giroux. I don't think he has a mindset to do that. So we only have a little bit of space to go. West Cliff isn't Silver Cliff.
Silver Cliff would love to have them.
The town has some land that they own down there. Okay, it's been 40 years since longer that people have owned those lots on the other side of Herman. Nothing's been done. Nobody's jumped up onto the bandwagon to put forward money to put infrastructure in. We have the opportunity to do it. Perhaps we don't need to do all 6 lots or all 6 or blocks as tiny houses or whatever. But what about just the city-owned land? That could be maybe designated as multifamily, maybe duplexes or a 2-story, not aesthetically pleasing building, enough to get the grant. We could apply for the grant. If they say no to that, well, then we know that we gotta change something or do something, and it doesn't ruin it for everybody else. But it could help to get the infrastructure across the street and into the land. Okay, that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Chuck. So,
My husband was born and raised here.
Laura Paquette.
My name is Laura Paquette. John was born and raised here. We've lived here over 40 years as a family. And I've listened to all these people speak. And I read what was in the paper. I haven't had a chance to go back and read all the minutes from the last. And I think all the questions have been very viable, very to the point, very logical. And I know when you're talking about, I'm not logical, so I hope I'm not jumping around. But when you were talking about to the 25 owners, I know they have the right to speak about their houses right there, but I don't think they should have the right to take everything that the other people in this town and community want. And just like everybody was talking about, people come here because they want to come to a beautiful, beautiful place to live. And I commend Caleb for wanting to be able to provide houses or living quarters for people that need them. And I agree with that. But I don't think this particular plan is what we need. And there are a lot of lots around town that are vacant, that somehow somebody could buy them and build up properties, or the people that building the houses right now, they don't look like affordable housing. So that's an issue that I think the town needs to address. But I don't think they need to address it to the detriment of the town and the valley. And just like these people that know more about different areas and how they've developed and where they are, those are real issues. And I don't want those issues for my grandkids, because my kids and my grandkids do plan on coming sometime, hopefully, if the world doesn't end. And that, so I think everything they're saying is right. My question is, okay, we're talking about the businesses, losing workers or people not willing to work. I know Caleb was mentioning what a couple restaurants pay in wages. That's commendable. But some of the businesses don't, even they're paying that much money, and I don't know about that restaurant, I don't know about any restaurants, but that they don't usually give them enough hours that they're going to make the income to even pay for affordable housing. So I think we do need to find a different plan, but I do think also that free money is not always free. It looks free.
It's never free.
It looks free. And it comes in, but like you say, there's sometimes the government does whatever they want. The government in that plan, I haven't read it. I heard it from a trustworthy person that's smart and looks at stuff like that small communities like this don't have to follow one of the laws where they made it a law that they have to put in high density living quarters and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure she was talking about something like this plan, and we don't have to do it. And then the other question is, when somebody wants to develop a property, like I've seen these properties out there, I don't know if they develop, I don't pay attention. But those people have to come in and they have to pay for their own infrastructure. So why are we going to pay for the infrastructure for other companies or businesses or construction to come in and maybe, yeah, they're going to have to pay a water tap, or they're going to have to pay that, but they're not going to have to pay for the water and sewer infrastructure like other places. And even when you build a house out of town and in the community, you have to pay for it. if I want, unless it's there and you want it, you still have to pay a portion if it's already been brought in. You still have to pay to have your water, sewer, and electricity and whatever you want. So those are just some of the things. And then I think that some of the people, he talks infrastructure. I'm assuming that means the fire, the school, police, road maintenance, bringing in sewer and bringing in that many more people. Sure, we're not going to have the scary amount of 3,000 to 5,000 people in a couple of years, but you're still going to have all that damage. You're still not going to have a beautiful place where the people that want to live here and have the money to live here will want to come to. And, you know, John worked 3 jobs, I worked 2 jobs. And so I think that people want to live here should have the opportunity to come and live in a beautiful place that hasn't been tainted like other big towns and other big cities. And, you know, you go down below to anywhere, to Pueblo, to Denver, to Salida. To me, it's not a pleasant experience. To me, to go is to have a little trip, to have not a vacation, but go for the day and do something fun. And for years up here in Custer County, people have tried to find or do things for the kids. I think the school tries. I think maybe we should be looking more into what kind of activities can we do that will bring the kids in from the schools and doing things. What kind of activities can we make more family friendly for the older and the younger and the little, rather than make a big development, even if it's six blocks. If you're telling me at the end, it could have up to 3,000 to 6,000 more people. That's what you told me.
No.
Yes, you did. I came in here and spoke to you for half an hour
I did
and
not
you
say
said the density there was a study that it could hold a density of 3,000 and by now it's probably more in P6. I sat there and talked to you for half an hour.
You're misquoted me, if I may. I actually addressed a few things you said.
Well, then I misheard you.
At the most, if
Laura.
it would be maybe 300 to 600 on top of the current population.
Not
Doubling.
Yeah, so if a couple of things a couple of points were made. Free money isn't always free. You're right on that. But I will say that every single improvement you see on the town, streets, roads, that's all free money. The state has not come back to us once and demanded that money back. In fact, they haven't done it for other towns either, right? All of that is just getting our tax-paying dollars that we sent out, that most of it gets sent to Denver anyhow, just getting it back to the town. So on that point, the next one, geez, my notes are pretty messed up. Infrastructure, paying for the infrastructure, the water and sewer infrastructure. So they do have to pay for that water. The town will come in and put it in. Now, Dave, don't mean to put you on the hot seat again, but for clarification, if I'm wrong, go ahead and stop me. If the town does put in this water and sewer infrastructure, and we do put the $300,000 or so that what is the match requirement to it? Once somebody does buy that water and sewer tap, they have, like I said, they have to buy the water and sewer tap, and then on top of it, the cost forever, whatever it was to bring those lines across their property. So, and then the town would be receiving those funds back, acting as the developer. So if the town were to put, let's just say $300,000 into it and a $1.5 million grant, essentially the town could receive back $1.5 million that it put in for the first place. That it didn't even put in 1.5 million, and only paid 300 grand, now it's getting 1.5 back from infrastructure that it barely even had to pay for. So you did mention that before, so I do see that as a pretty big win, putting $300,000 up and getting the leftover 1.1 something million, 1.250 million.
Okay, well, I do have to admit, I did make a mistake. You did say 300 to 600. But 300 to 600 people in a town that already has 600 people is still a lot of people, and it still changes the atmosphere. And the high rise buildings, 2-story, high-rise, it's 2-story buildings or 3-story buildings. That puts a lot of density. And how many people are going to want to come in and move into those places and plan on living there several years with family? Or are they just not really gonna be for family, they're gonna be for just couples and things? And I've noticed in the valley that a lot of families are moving in here now with children. So if you want family and you want people here that are willing to be part of the community and pay attention to what's happening and want to keep it a beautiful place, make it single family, then make it single family.
Yeah, so how does that combat the situation we're in now? Let's just say they were single family homes. And let's just say half the side of the block, there's roughly 6 homes per half side, that's 12 homes per block, 12 times 6. 72.
What do you mean?
60? Well, I never said I was very good at math, but that's 60 homes there. And so that's not a lot.
No, that's not a lot.
And so in that, if we can't even put down the tunnel lots, that's, right, the rest of the area. And again, I can't even apply for the grant making in single family dwellings. I know for a fact that if I put, hey, I want affordable homes that are only gonna be single family dwellings, I think I'm gonna get denied. But I could be simply correct.
And mind you, that'd be 60 to 72 homes that would have to pay that $1.5 million
Exactly.
to get the infrastructure to even build the homes.
Not getting the streets and sidewalks.
Yep.
Thanks, Laura.
But I think some of the people that are working, maybe they just don't wanna work and they don't come in because they don't wanna work that day, and that wasn't the ethnic culture that I grew up in. So anyway, but
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
My name is Terry Munson. I'm from rural Custer County. I have a lot of notes, but a lot of things have already been addressed, so excuse me while I jump around. First of all, I'd like to commend you for addressing it in the beginning of the meeting that, yes, this is the Board of Trustees, you are the mayor, you have the right and legal to make decisions, but ultimately you will listen to taxpayers. One of my questions was referring to high density and number of units, so you did just clarify that of 300 to 600. What are we talking about for affordable housing? What is your idea of affordable housing?
Yeah, so I can explain that. You also said taxpayers. I will remind that this is for the citizens of Westcliff, not everybody in Custer County. As the town manager, it's not my job to take into account everybody in county's opinion, just really the Board of Trustees, the Planning Commission, and then the citizens.
Well, first though, I'd like to qualify, Terry, aren't you still the, with the fire department?
Yes,
So she also is the.
the district clerk, but I am not here speaking on behalf of fire.
But.
Fire chief is here if you have questions.
Yeah. I don't have questions for that, but. Concerns about fire and whatnot do play into this decision as well.
It's on my list somewhere.
Yeah, so I guess affordable is considered no longer than, or no more than 30% of income towards a person, right? 30% of their income, excuse me.
Okay, so we are speaking of rent based on income.
Yes,
So we're not talking about Section 8 or people who are not working, that type of
No.
thing. Because I think everyone in this room can agree that yes, we do need to offer some affordable housing. And affordable housing is not the issue. One of the things I had on here was an assessment of need, and that was addressed when I came in of how many households do we need for what we actually have? And that is including our first responders, our senior citizens, our teachers, our service workers.
Yes, so
Let's not build more than what we need to accommodate the people who are here and who are contributing to the community.
Well, we already know in one study that we need at least 35 dwellings of some sort.
Absolutely, and I can agree.
a Future of 35 more.
Sure, and that's far off from 600.
Indeed.
So life previous to Westcliff, I worked in property management. And one of the last properties I worked at was county housing, which is affordable housing. It was a 120 unit community. And I can tell you 10 to 15% of those people actually needed to live there. The remainder of that community lived off the system. So that's why I wanted to address what was the actual, what kind of housing are we actually talking about? As far as emergency services, we do need to reach out and we do need to consult with our fire, our SO and our EMS because my guys are tapped out on what we have now. And you double the size of the town, that's a real big factor to take into consideration. You made a comment about other locations. And I'm gonna ask you this because I will show up to a meeting and I will ask a question to clarify a rumor. Were you approached or asked about lots over on Silver Cliff and your answer was, this needs to be right in town to meet a walking score in order to increase our chances of receiving a grant?
Yeah, so the lots that were brought up on question were Twyla's, from what I remember from our conversation, they were up north of Oak Creek Grade area. A couple reasons why that doesn't work. One, that's just unfeasible. It's out of the town's gonna apply for the grant and apply for the grant for the money on the county. To me, that's unfeasible. Yes, and a big grading criteria on that grant is the walkability. I think it's good if you do have the homes closer to the core commercial area to where they are gonna work. That way they can also cut off on gas costs, right? So that just also makes it even more affordable for that location. So that's why I do think this location is better. And you also mentioned you guys being tapped out and whatnot. And I do apologize for that. I wish we had more resources to bring in more money to that, but this would also bring higher levies into the fire districts as well, right? Higher taxable area, more funds going into the fire district as well. So it does benefit at the same time as it might put on a higher workload.
Multi-housing taxes residential or is it taxes commercial?
I do not know. I would have to ask JD. I'm not an assessor.
Because those are
Yes, a big difference, 29.
tenants who are not contributing to property taxes. It would be a developer on one tax bill.
I would have to ask JD.
Some of these properties that would be townhomes though as well, not necessarily just all apartments.
Yes.
We're not. That's not actually designated at this point. Multifamily
But
is
again-
multifamily that could go either way.
If they're renters, they're not
I understand,
contributing to
but
property tax.
my claim is it's not necessarily renting properties. It could be, it may
The
not.
property would be paying property taxes.
What's that?
The owner of the property would be paying the property taxes if they're renters.
Right, correct, which is why I asked if a housing community is taxes residential or commercial.
And we're also looking at like possibility or the idea behind it anyway is having kind of a multi-tiered approach, not all just blanket apartments or all blanket condos. It's having a mix of stuff.
Yeah, should I explain the zoning?
Please.
Blocks 33 and 34 will be. What? 33 and 34 shall be apartments and condos and shall not exceed 3 stories in height. Blocks 20 and 19 shall be townhomes, condos, and apartments not to exceed 2 stories. So 3, starting from the east, 3, 2 stories, and then block 17 and 18 shall be reserved for tiny homes, bedroom housing, townhomes, single family homes that can be built on half a lot. 1, 3, 2, 1. So.
But that is what has just sort of been discussed. That's not set in stone. That's not what has been, it's not firm. That's just an idea. And that's what Caleb's idea was to go to try to get that grant.
Did I see somewhere in your plan that all building and permit fees would be waived for this project?
What do you mean for this project? For the water and sewer infrastructure?
That I couldn't tell you. I have a
Naturally, yes. The
40
town's
page
not gonna-
document and I noticed in there of building and permit fees waived for this project.
The case for affordable housing is the document that you're talking about. Again, that is not approved. in the grant, so there is something called the MHN, More Housing Now, Land Use and Strategies Best Practices. That is a grading criteria for the grant. That's, and again, if you guys are interested in looking at that, I'd be more than happy to send it out to anybody. But part of that is a reduction of local fees. As you can imagine, trying to make affordable houses with today's building costs is nearly impossible. So the local municipalities encouraged to find ways to make it cheaper. So I'm not taking any, the plan is to not take any, you know, taxpayer money and to offset it. Is rather than doing that, just if for the town homes themselves, for the town owned lots, to waive building and permit fees, that is correct, to bring down total building costs to make it more affordable.
Just for those lots.
Just for those
Okay.
lots
Just those few
So-
lots.
As a taxpayer,
of county, not Westcliff.
the fire department paid $6,000 for building and permit fees, so I find it extremely unethical and biased.
Well, if you guys
To
would like
waive
to talk
building and
about
permit
that, well,
fees.
I took half off. So if you're coming, you know, trying to make me seem like I'm being unfair, I took half off.
But again, I just wanna say that this is just Caleb's idea. This is not something that is going forward or anything. That's just what he has put together as what he thinks would be a good way to approach it. So nothing right now is firm. That's why we're wanting to hear from citizens.
I have a question concerning Silver Cliff. I might be wrong, but I'm Rock Canada.
Podium, please.
I might be not understanding something, but I'm under the assumption that Silver Cliff owns some city blocks that have water and sewer up there. And if the two towns could get together, that's where I think would be a good place to put them.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm almost sure of that. Could be wrong, but I think they do.
I think Barry has that information if you have that instinct.
Just let me butt in real quick, just to answer
I
for you. Good question, because I've heard this come up before. The county owns
Who are
19
you?
lots. I'm sorry, ma'am, Barry Key.
19 lots.
19 lots. County owns 19 lots in Silver Cliff, and there is infrastructure in place there, and the county is in the process of doing development there. Not, the county isn't gonna do development, but working on development. It was tabled for more than a year because of the moratorium on tax. Now that that's opened up again, we're pretty active, and there is Custer County Workforce Housing Committee has been working with the towns. I worked with Caleb, I worked with Isaac up in Silver Cliff, and I'll stop with that, but.
So that could be available then, correct?
It's available,
It is
we
available.
do plan to develop it, yeah.
As the, if I were to give any direction for the town, I would encourage the town not to have the homes in Silver Cliff, rather, but West Cliff. There's multiple reasons for that, but just so
It's been my experience when we've done grants in the past for other things that it's, you have a better chance of getting financing, getting the grants if you are working with your neighboring communities and your county. So if there's already some plans in place in Silver Cliff or in the county, if the plan, and I don't know if this is the plan, if the plan is to really work on having affordable housing in the community, then it would seem that, to me, that would be the best interest to be working with our other communities, especially if they're further along in this process. If the plan is to get affordable housing here quickly.
I got one more thing to say. I wish everybody to look at that view that says West Cliff up there.
Looks like that.
Now, I own a lot in Filing 4. And I know that you have stated we can change the zoning anytime we want to.
But I bought that lot knowing that one day that maybe I could build something there, it's a single family. I guess what I'm saying, combined with that view, that's a magnificent view. You put up 3 stories, 2 stories, or whatever out there. It's gonna detract from that part of the town. You've got a beautiful park started there where kids come and play soccer and play, and there's tennis courts. And I think that the affordable housing you're talking about, excuse me if I said, but it's basically gonna be low income housing.
Right.
And those kind of people, I'm sorry to say it, I don't think I'd wanna have things going on with young kids there in that barn. Okay. Not only that, they'll have a parking spot in front of the building that they're gonna rent or whatever. But I'll tell you what, they'll have their pickup trucks, their trailers and everything else out in the street. Parked, because they'll have multiple cars and trailers and trucks. Go to Silver Cliff and look around those apartments up there on those streets. And I appreciate you listening to me. That's all I've got to say.
So I just want to quickly see if there's anyone that has anything different that they want to say. I get the general feeling of the room. Hold on one second, Charles, that there's not an issue necessarily with housing that's affordable, but concerns about that location, concerns about free money, concerns about taxing our systems. And so that, like Paul said at the beginning, that maybe we need to slow things down, pursuing this. And Charles, I'll let you speak, but I just want to know if there's anyone that has anything different that they're wanting to add to that, or just in the sake of time, and I know it's hot in here. Real quick, Ruth?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Pardon me. Sandy isn't real good on me. It's just a dairy town, so I'd eat my leg, but.
Say your name, please.
Oh, Ruth Mitchell. And I have a couple of questions and maybe another comment. Okay, so Paul, you said it was like an average 30,000 a year on the current minimum wage. And you said 300 to 600 more people. What about taking care of the people that are already here first? I think it would be imperative. I don't want a monstrosity. I think it sounds atrocious, but scale down and maybe have some sort of a lottery system where the existing workers here can access those apartments before anybody else. And on top of that, yeah, we need workers for the businesses, but I'm gonna tell you, if people feel like we're being built out, gonna be selling and leaving, and you won't have as many customers in those businesses.
Right.
Except for the new people. And so what do you say? I love this little tagline, affordable. Exactly what does that mean?
Well, I have it right here, benefit of, the various end of this out, but here's a, let's say, law enforcement officer
Right,
making, 45,000 a year,
right.
30% of his wage, then.
15,000.
Sorry, yeah. it
That
goes-
would be
yes,
15,000.
About $1,000 a month, $1,100.
About 1,300 a month.
Right, I'm sorry. Well, it says right here, affordable rent is $1,114 a month. Now, we're targeting this really at the people who work here now and will in the future that we need to run our community. So teachers, people at the clinic, law enforcement officers, workers in our stores,
Sure.
and so forth.
Oh, I
we're not
understand.
really trying to attract Mongol hordes up here, you know, we're just
Right.
trying to get enough housing to accommodate the people who do live here.
Well, I brought up that question because he said 300 to 600 more in population.
I understand that. And, but that's, we're listening to people and you're shaping my thoughts right now as I listen to you. In terms of what I think we should do. I don't know what any of the other members on this committee believe, but, we do have a study that says we need 35 now, 70 in the future, total of 70 in the future. Hell, we could pass an ordinance here at the town where everybody has to pay at least $25 an hour for employees. That would solve the problem.
Right.
One problem.
When you, the
But
government
that's a-
can
that's a
do
problem.
that,
So, you know.
but you serve at the consent of the governed.
Yeah, but my point is that, so we're trying, we know we have a problem. We're trying to solve it.
Right. Well, I just, from what Caleb said earlier, if there were, like 218 apartment units, 9 on top, 9 on bottom, 2 of those would house 36 homes, whether that's 1 person, 2 person, or 3 person. So,
They have to be affordable.
but, okay, and again, I'll address that. Minimum wage, 30,000 a year. A third of that is 10,000 a year. So that's gonna be 1,000 plus the other 2 months. And, I just know that a lot of people here struggle on minimum wage. I'll be honest with you, I live in a 4,900 square foot house and I pay $680 a month. So, you know, but I ran the Custer County Community Sharing Center for 14 years. And I know the need is there. But again, if it's just gonna, the Christian school that my grandson attended right over here, by the Mennonite church or Fellowship Church now, they divide that into 4 apartments for teachers to have affordable housing. So my question is, while you said, you know, y'all develop it and then, but it would be, the people that come in and build it would be the owners of it. How are you gonna hold them to that affordable limit?
There would be a housing authority through Upper Area Park, Salt Council, look at this.
Of what?
Housing
Art.
authority through UGA.
Yeah, COV, okay. So,
But Bruce, that would keep from the flippers coming in, live there for a year or 2 and then double their money, which we see it all
Right.
happen right in our county. We've
But-
seen that,
but they will-
that would be managed so that wouldn't
Okay.
happen.
so I'll talk to UCOG and see if they'll hold a limit, you know, if we do this, but that picture right there is kind of really, if you're on 69 and you're not at the big pond that is no longer there, a little farther down the road, that's what a 3-story building across the side of 69 looked like, that just big white thing right over the picture.
Just paint that white like brown. Orange.
Charles?
I'm Charles Vogel. I'm owner of lots 1 through 7 in block 20. And I'm probably one of the more recent procurers of property in that area. I have owned property in West Cliff for upwards of 20 years, shortly after I moved here, for various reasons. I understand this step on y'all's part is to get input on whether it should be changed from single family to commercial property. We have talked about the umpteen subsequent steps that you will administer before this property is developed. I asked a question in the last meeting. If the property is changed to commercial, what is the obligation and what input as a property owner do I have, or do I have any additional obligations? And I was told basically none other than comply with what might be commercial zoning. You will go to a larger crowd within the community as far as all of these other aspects that you've talked to. And Paul, if you would ask me why I bought the property, I had some property further down on 69. And with the boom, I had calls from Houston and every place else wanting to buy it for speculation. I wouldn't talk to them. Finally, there was somebody that was here that wanted to put a business there, and I talked to them and I sold it. And then I bought property where I've got now for one reason, because I'm on the Round Mountain Board and I had to own property within the district to stay on the board. And realizing, knowing at that time that, and what I looked for with my realtor was the least expensive property in either of the two towns. And that was it. And I told my wife, I said, if I die tomorrow, we're right next to the park, and give it to this town of Westcliff and take a high tax write-off. I had no expectation that there would even be at that time an opportunity to develop it. So I would say there's a decision to make and recommendation on y'all's part right now is whether we change it from residential to commercial. Then you have a lot of other very difficult decisions to make before anything's finalized. And from that standpoint, as an investment, I would be in favor of changing it to commercial property. That's all I've got.
Thanks, girls. So,
Charles, may I clarify with you? We're talking about a multifamily, not commercial. Would you be okay with
Yeah.
multifamily versus commercial?
It's still, as a property owner, other than the town's property, then it's, that's a restriction that I would, if I was gonna sell the 7 lots I've got, I would have to comply with that. And that, in that way, it could be duplexes or whatever. It need not be skyscrapers.
Mary Zwacky, I am principal owner of Block 17 in Second Filing. Just have a quick question. There are 31 lots in Silver Cliff, and I know this is Westcliff, but there's 31 lots in Silver Cliff that are, and actually some of them in Westcliff, that are owned by the Custer County School District. If 4 of those, I believe 4 of them are where the school and the sports fields are right now. But the rest of them are in residential areas. If the school district is having a problem with affordable housing, why doesn't the school district find some money to develop on those lots, put some housing on those lots? I mean, there should be. I guess my question is, why does Custer County School District own 31 of those, maybe 26 are residential lots? This is.
that I don't have an answer to, but that is a really good question that I agree should be posed to them, like, they're,
We can ask that of
It's,
police department, aren't they solving the problem? Or the fire district, if they need more people, more men to man the trucks and so forth, why aren't they addressing the
they
problem?
don't.
No, but they could, they have to buy property, but my point is, there are a lot of entities, the clinic, et cetera, the county itself. I'm just saying that, and you could take that to all of them, I'm sure they would listen. We have a commissioner right here, and, so the point is that those are all good questions. But this is the town of Westwood, and so we're trying to solve the problem that we think exists now. One thing is sort of triggered in my mind when we do our study about demand is that 35 houses that are needed in the county, in the towns, or in Westwood. So, is it just the Westwood, or is it, or is it all Custer County?
Yeah.
And so, pardon me?
Yeah.
Just, so the point is that it is a broader issue than just the town. And then that's gonna shape our decision.
I guess, yeah, that's part of my question about the school district. I mean, it seems a little strange to me unless they were planning at one time to do some expansion. But this, I agree, this should be a county issue and at least a West Cliff and Silver Cliff issue. And it seems like there are possibly places where utilities may already be there. And I don't know if there are grants that give public entities money to build, like school districts build housing for their employees. But yeah, I agree. I think that it's a county issue and it's just kind of asking the question, so.
Let me ask you a question. Do you know how they came about owning that? Was it granted to them or?
I just saw the tax records. I have no
That's
idea.
fair enough. I don't know either. I'm just.
And actually, I did look at the sales records in the tax records and there was nothing showing in there. So I assumed that it maybe was something that was granted to them when the school district was formed, so. Good question.
Well, in the paper, have one, paper with my right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
My name is Elliot Jackson. I am a reporter for the Wet Mountain Tribune. I'm also a reporter for the Art Valley Voice. I'm also the program manager for the Jones Theater. I work 3 jobs. Look at me. I'm your low-income nightmare. I make less than $30,000 a year, working 3 jobs. The only reason I can afford to live here is by the grace of God and a very supportive partner. If I did not have those things, I could not afford to live here. And I'm not speaking as a reporter, except insofar as to say, I have certainly covered affordable housing issues in other areas, including Salida. Now, Salida may be a bugbear to some of you. Might be the face of a kind of development you don't want to see, but they are working on their workforce housing problem. And they are using a variety of tactics to do so. If you are concerned about the fact, if you want to make sure, maybe you just don't go to as many public meetings as I do. Maybe you don't go to the school board meetings and hear about how over and over they're having to hire new teachers every year because those teachers leave. You want to talk about children's programming? We offer them. There are more of them all the time. And every year there are different children in those programs because those families have moved. They cannot afford to live here. And those are people who work here. Those are people who contribute. And all I'm going to say is, yes, there are solutions. What the Planning Commission is doing, what Caleb, what the town is trying to do is take baby steps towards addressing a very serious problem. You can deed restrict. They do that in Salida. You can have deed restrictions that specify what your income level has to be, that specify that people who are currently working here have priority. You can do all those things. You can build those things in. All I'll say is this. If you own a house here, if you worked somewhere else and you could afford to buy a house here, $500,000 house, $1 million house with $1 million view, you're lucky. You're very lucky. And not everyone is that lucky. Not the ENTs that are gonna maybe come to your beautifully manicured yard and pick you up when you've had a heart attack. Not the firefighters who have to commute from God knows where to put out a fire in your backyard. Not clinic workers, not teachers, not service workers. You know, they deserve to live here too. At least that's my opinion. Maybe it's not yours, but what the Planning Commission is trying to do is to initiate a conversation, is to take advantage of tax money and tax programs that are out there to try and solve this kind of problem. And it doesn't mean that anybody in this room can't have an opinion about what that ought to look like and what the density ought to be. But just consider when you talk about what kind of people are gonna come in and take advantage of this. People who live here, people like me who work 3 jobs and still don't make that $30,000 a year. And if you're telling me, well, you know, you don't make enough money to live here, you shouldn't be able to live here if you don't make that kind of money. All I will say is, I don't share that opinion personally. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe she had her hand up.
I have a question.
Long ago.
Thank you. We're a Dollar Hyde and I live in Silver Cliff, sorry. But I'm right on the line. I have a question. Has this planning commission factored in or are you aware of the law that was passed by Colorado regarding people, how many people can live in a house or an apartment?
Yes.
And have you factored that into this high density?
That would be up to the landlord.
Because what I read was 1 person per 100 square feet. So that could give 1,000 square foot apartment and people. Also, a comment that I have is it's interesting to me because I've been a Colorado resident for 53 years that, and I've been through the whole affordable housing program situation in the Front Range. I've watched it all evolve and happen. But to me, it's an interesting observation that the governor and the Senate and the House all embrace all of these newcomers, illegals, whatever you want to call them, into the country. And then all of a sudden we have this terrible affordable housing problem. And in Denver, they're paying $65 million out of taxpayer money to fund these people. Where are you going to put them? Is Denver going to absorb them all? Or are you going to do little pilot programs throughout all the rural counties through DOLA? Just my observation and my question. Thanks, Laura.
Hi, my name is Elena Romiger. I have a very quick, short question. Hypothetically, should we get the grant, 1.5 million or whatever that amount is, and should this project go forward, has there been any consideration made where the people that build the project are going to live? Because there will be many of them, you know, relating to all sorts of construction. People will be brought in to do this. Has this been thought of? And good, thank you.
This isn't one monolithic project. This isn't like we're gonna go out and conduct a big swath of buildings in one go. This is just setting it up to allow these kind of buildings, again, a mix of buildings, mix of types of buildings. But ultimately,
the idea here is to come up with creative solutions, not to railroad down your throats what you get to see, what you get to deal with. We're trying to figure out a solution. This is one possible solution. Again, my initial experience with the planning commission and the board of trustees was to come up with a creative solution for me personally. And we did so. That's what we're looking to do here. We're something needs to be done, okay? Does it have to be this? No, not at all. But we need to make steps to move forward somehow, sometime, the sooner the better. Now, I don't mean sooner like in, we gotta make it so soon, we're gonna make mistakes. These are mistakes. If we're gonna make them, we can also correct them. We are part of this town too. We just want to make something happen. We know that we have problems with the workforce. I mean, this is what, again, this is the thinking that we are coming up with. Does it mean we have not oversight, lapses of sight on certain issues? Sure. And that's, again, why we invite you here. Again, creative solutions. I happen to run a business that I do not depend on the local economy to run my business. I sell product worldwide, most of it within the United States. I do sell Australia, Germany, England, Thailand. My business isn't absolutely tied to the economy of this town is. Paul's is. Any of our other businesses, or most of our other businesses here are. They depend on you to be their customers. They depend on me to be a customer. If they don't have employees there, I can't really be their customer. We are trying to figure out a way to help this town thrive, not expand into oblivion, just give the people opportunity to thrive. Not force opportunity, not give things away, but provide opportunity. That's all I.
That's all I have. Okay, one more comment.
Yes.
Once again, very swaggy. In hearing all of these comments, I think that it would be a really good idea if a number of people, probably Caleb, maybe somebody from the Western County Board, somebody from Cliff, somebody from Muscliff, went around to some of these towns, maybe Buena Vista, Salida, some towns that have addressed this problem, and ask what they've done. Has anybody done this?
Yes.
And what kind of creative solutions were there? Were there any creative solutions that we could use in this county that might help? Is this the only solution that we can come up with? Or, because we're talking about different ideas and approaching this problem from different directions. So let's talk about some other suggestions. I appreciate Elliot's comments. That was very heartfelt. And I understand that. And
We still have to have dwellings of some sort. And we've
Yes.
been to Muni. Caleb and I were just there a couple of weeks ago. Salida. Caleb's been to other places as well. Looking at what they've done. They've modeled some of what we are trying to do after what they're doing. But it comes down to zoning, which people are complaining about. And what kind of dwelling are we gonna be able to put on those zones that achieve the objectives that we're trying to achieve, and that is affordable housing. So, anyway, we are doing that, and I don't know if what Silver is doing. I think it's a good idea that we talk to Silver Cliff, and the county, because if they're doing something, you know, there aren't enough of us in the county. Work prosperous at each other, we should all get together and just see what exactly everybody's doing, what we wanna do, and what the potential desired outcome is. So, yeah, but
Okay.
we don't live in a jar here, we do get out and, anyway, try to figure out other things, so.
Okay, thank you.
So we don't have anything on here that's to make, we don't have any action items here. I don't wanna. I hate to say I wanna make a workshop, 'cause I really don't, but there's so much more that needs to be discussed here, and I think it does need to involve the community. I don't know if we wanna put a committee together, and I just wanna say for the record, like, I don't wanna be Leadville. And I don't wanna be Aspen either, I wanna be Westcliff, and I think we can make something work that will work for us. And maybe they'll model after us in the future.
Can I just make one statement?
Yes.
I think right now, our mindset is that Westcliff has to solve the problem for the whole community. And everything these people were saying about these different entities, it's the community that is supposed to solve this problem, not just West.
I agree with that, and so maybe that's, you know, we do need to get together and talk with the school district and the EMS and it's not just, and Silver Cliff and the county, and it's not just a Westcliff problem. And I think if we were to all come together and figure something out, and maybe it's multiple places that we do this, and we go and look at grants in that capacity, that's a lot. That's well received when you're working with your communities. So I don't wanna say a workshop, but I'm gonna say a workshop.
You're gonna have to say a workshop.
I'm gonna have to say a workshop.
Just think about it for a week or two. We have to.
Correct.
We have another
In 2 weeks, there'll be another meeting.
Yes.
Thank you all for everybody saying stuff. Just so you know, I've been here 30 years. Okay. Quite a few faces I don't even know, you've been here maybe less than me, but I've seen it up and down in my time. But all I know is when I came here, we had 2,000 in the county. Now we're at 5,000 roughly. So that's 150% growth. I do travel around not only our state, but our country. And I have really knowledge and experience with other people in our position in other towns. And the common theme of all of them, we wish we'd have done something sooner. They waited till the cattle got out before somebody said, oh, we have a brook, somebody left the gate open. That's why, and this group of planning people, I've been on the planning commission now 6, 7 years, whatever it's been. And highly paid volunteer, just so you know. And I brought it up in one of the meetings, Paul, you may have been there. And I said, in my opinion, as a newbie on the planning commission, we are a reacting commission instead of planning. Today, we're planning and we're listening to everybody. But all I ask is let's look at our community. And I'm a community guy. I do a lot for our community. Not, it's just, a lot of people here know that. Anyway, all I ask is we make a rational decision, not emotional. Emotions can get in the way of a lot of progress. And what's progress? You know, I know what's going on in Denver, okay? And I've seen that, but you know what? I'm very aware of the situation for our workforce, and I'm struggle with it too. You can probably afford more of a house than I can afford, whatever, that's not a point. But the rent controls, flipping type situations, that's all part of this whole program that's being done in other communities. So we see that. And we're learning from that. We're getting educated on this stuff too. So anyway, we've had a need for, I can't put a time on it, but at least, 8 to 10 years where I've known people that their help left town because they got pushed out because of finances. And as a business owner myself over the years, you know, you maybe can't afford enough to pay enough to have the help to live where they work. So anyway, so I just want to share that rational instead of emotional. And we're planning for the future, trying to, and from my knowledge, the county, there's been a lot of workforce housing talk in the last 6-7 years or so. What's happened? I don't see much of anything. So here we are as a Westcliff entity trying to do something, and emotions are getting involved. So we can talk again, but I'm an action guy, get it done. And here's an opportunity that we have to get this infrastructure. And we can't do anything until we have the infrastructure. Okay. And whether it ends up being what it ends up, but I can predict what the future is. We can have the infrastructure there, but maybe nobody's going to come and want to participate. So we're still square one, but at least the folks that own the property there can do something, build their home they want to build. Okay, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
So I think there's a couple things we do. Oh, what? Okay.
I just wanted to talk more on the emergency, so. Before we take off to another meeting. Alright, I'm Jeremiah Coleman, I'm chief with the Wet Mountain Fire Protection District up here. I was also lucky enough to be born and raised in this beautiful valley. It has changed a lot since I was a little kid, and you know, I'm not against change at all. Change can be bad and change can be good. It's just all in how you perceive it and how you let it affect you. But one thing I'd ask the committee and stuff to do is to involve the emergency response around this valley. I'm not gonna speak for the other agencies. I'm just here to speak on behalf of the fire agency. Everybody knows we're all volunteer except for myself. We just, about 3 years ago, the board of directors had hired a chief, but everybody else is volunteer. And just like everywhere in this community, that's a big thing I get volunteers too, is they want to volunteer, but they have to have 3, 4, 5 jobs to afford a place here. And to address a question earlier, the fire department has been for probably the past 2-3 years trying to work on building residential units into our station and everything to, you know, take on the challenge of, you know, retaining volunteers, encouraging volunteers to come do what we do to help the public, you know, more incentive to help out. I will go off kind of what one gal did say earlier, and I'm not gonna complain about it myself. I'm a tax-paying American, but I do ask that everybody be treated the same. If on, you know, permit fees, whatever, if, you know, Town of Westcliff wants to charge the fire department $12,000 for permit fee, so be it. It's all fair. Everybody needs to be treated fair. I do want to bring up, you guys are talking about, I keep hearing a lot of this for low income people. Yeah, low income people definitely need help, but they're just average Americans. One thing like our fire department has done for years for the community we serve is we have one of the lowest mill levies in the state of Colorado for buying everything we need. And those prices are going up, but our prices aren't really. And that kind of be my biggest, I believe our department's biggest issue is, you know, you bring in 300 to 600 more people in these units, you know, these different special districts are gonna suffer because there's the tax base. You're taking the tax base of these 300 to 600 people moving into this valley on, you know, single dwelling, stuff like that. They're paying those property taxes, which help the special districts versus, you know, commercial. Yeah, their rates are higher, which help, but those doubling the size of the town isn't helping the special districts and the emergency services. We've been kind of the A-ball. I've been on the department almost 13 years, 11 of them as a volunteer, and ever since I believe we've been behind the 8-ball, and we're still trying to play catch up. And the more and more, nothing against people coming up here, I don't blame them. It's a wonderful place to be, but it's, these kind of plans I like to see go to all the emergency agencies for sure, because they're gonna be impacted the most, I believe. So that's all I have, and thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
The units that you guys are looking to build, are these actual housing units or just like shift units?
It's gonna be kind of like dorm rooms, and they'll share a like common
Shift
kitchen.
units for shift people who are.
They'll stay there the whole time. They'll actually live there. It's not gonna be for people for shifts, but they will do shifts, and we're gonna try to set up stipulations on what all they have to do to earn their living, their rent, their bills, all that, but it won't be collecting cash for them. It's, okay, you're here as a volunteer, you're gonna earn your room to stay in, that deal, just to try to, get more, incentivize people to become volunteers, but, and give to the community, but also, be given back, taken care of as well, so.
Volunteer force housing.
Yeah, Chaffey County has, their fire department has a residence program, and we've been, instead of inventing the wheel, taking a lot of what they have. They have modular housing that they do for volunteers. So.
Very creative.
Yeah. So I think we have a couple things that we need to address. And it's not, we can't make a motion or anything in this meeting, but we do need to, I believe, put a committee together, looking at you, John, to work on this. And I do think that it does need to involve residents. It needs to involve our emergency services and the county and both towns. I think we could be more effective as a group than as one entity. So there's that. And then I also would still like to see some sort of survey put together to get to the folks that actually own property. What? Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I just was in this situation in Guffey, and we mailed a letter to each of the homeowners that would be impacted and asked them to get it back to us ASAP.
And that's what
it's
I
pretty
think,
simple.
that's what I think we need to do here.
And that's what we've already done.
Is that what we're doing now? I would advise some things, and I would advise against another committee. I serve multiple committees, and it does not help with the paperwork and trying to call everybody to schedule times. I think if I could advise the planning commission that I would I'd definitely vote against having to recommend to a board another committee. I think what we're doing here is fine. And if the public needs comment for the zoning, then that's what we've been doing since. So that's just that's what I would advise.
I guess I'm real confused because I don't really know what we're doing.
Democracy at work.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Christie?
So, I just want to reiterate that Paul said at the beginning of the meeting, yeah, we'll put together these groups. And so, he said, and I think that's awesome. You said you put together the group with the town of Silver Cliff, get together with the county. And we've had the emergency services come up and speak just for one of them. And I understand what you said, that it is a pain to put together a committee and have a consensus. But I really think that is what we need to do, because otherwise it seems like it's more on the fast track. And what I think you guys need to do, because it is a countywide issue, not just a West Cliff issue. Yes, West Cliff's picking up the ball and they're running with it, but still, and I told Caleb this
That's
before, you can get it. Yeah, you can have a feather in your hat if you are the group that puts together the whole county and has it work together for the good of housing that's affordable.
You know, what growth,
There is a workforce housing board
thank you.
that is countywide. They're starving for members.
Well,
Barry,
get
am I
them
right?
involved in this and write them over.
Miss
Yeah.
Planning Commission and this is your job as a commission is to do zoning. So I would very much advise against subbing out that to another committee and to do that work for the commission. That is the planning commission's job. And like she said, the Silver Cliff and Custer County have their own board, and they've been at this for years and have gotten a lot done, but at the same time, what are you hearing?
We still need to work together.
Too many cooks spoil the good soup, so I think if the planning commission does their job, takes public opinion into account, works with the public during the meetings, if you let me finish, works with the public during the meetings, and caters to that, then we can have a finished product. But if we go up to the committee to having all these subgroups, then nothing's gonna get done. It's just gonna be bogged down by the wheels of bureaucracy and nothing will get done. So that's my opinion.
Why not have one conjoined meeting for all input for one, everything that has a mill levy in this county? Emergency services, just like you said, citizens, why couldn't we do, if you won't call it a workshop, I wouldn't. I would say just an input, give and take, because I will guarantee you this, I've done enough grants. When there's more collaboration, you're gonna get more money. Period, the end.
Well, and I know that, again, it kind of, my question originally was, what is the issue? Is the issue that we need to get affordable housing right now? Or is the issue that we're wanting to rezone this property? Because if the issue is we need affordable housing right now, I do know that, so I did talk with Buck, and I know that Silver Cliff has, they've got a plan in place for their, I'm gonna call it the town square, that does have housing, and they are further along in this process than we are. So if the issue is affordable housing, then shouldn't we be doing what we can to back them to move forward with their project that's already fall, and that's in the middle of town, so that ends up being
That is the wrong direction.
in your opinion.
Ma'am, if I can explain, this is twofold. One is infrastructure for the town, that the town does not really have to pay, what, at the most 300 grand, and then if the project total is 1.5 million back in return, that's a pretty kicking deal. So we get that for free, and we get money back on top of that. The great caveat to that is that we get some affordable housing that can be managed through UACOG and help with the town, with whoever it might be, as well as developing other areas for future growth. And it's not, as my job is a town manager, right now, I'm building and zoning official for the planning commission, so sorry if I spill one way to the other, but it's for the betterment of West Cliff. Though it's great that, you know, if we can band together to get something done, that's great, but nothing has been done there, nothing will be done there. And I think if we can continue down this path and we continue these meetings and have the opinion of the public during these meetings and actually get through what these zonings actually say, then we can get something done. If we go down in more bureaucracy, we're just never gonna get anything done. It's gonna stay the way it has. There's gonna be another committee like Custer County and Silver Cliff has. And thank you, gentlemen, for your hard work. I do really appreciate it. You do a great job. And have done a great job, but if you wanna, we are zoning. We are here to zone. That's all this is zoning. And if we don't like the way it's zoned, then we change the way it's zoned. No one is saying right now that we're gonna build this here. Even Dave himself said, it's gonna take 4 years to get this done. This is for the future of the town, and I would highly advise against trying to stall by going to Silver Cliff, Custer County, and so forth. I think we're here at the betterment of the citizens of West Cliff, and that should be the focus for the planning commission. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Janice Nuttall.
been property owners in the county since 11. I don't know how all of this works exactly. Are you on this committee?
I am an advisor to the
You're advisor.
planning commission.
This
Okay.
is the planning commission.
Okay.
We make recommendations to the board of trustees regarding zoning.
And I attended the other meeting also. I want to thank you all for your input and thank you all for your time. This is very interesting, Christy. What I felt was that you were really trying to bring everyone together. And I don't really almost even want to present the points I was going to present, but I'm sorry, Caleb, but it seemed as though you came in and you were just then. Did you all feel tension rise? when Caleb
No, I
was
felt
speaking? Okay, but Christy, you were bringing us together. What you were saying, was to try to bring minds together, Silver Cliff, West Cliff. Let's see what's going on. The question is, do you want unity in your community or do you want division? And the other question I ask you, have you ever done a grant similar to this, or is Caleb, is this the first one? Is this numero uno? Is it?
This is not numero uno.
Of this type, okay, I want to ask.
Grants and lots of.
Okay, I want to ask you all if you understand 15-minute cities or buzzwords coming down from the top to us. Walkability, transportation. Okay, I come from a city in Oklahoma, more cameras up, more 5G up, more everything up to control, to limit the traffic lights. I mean, I know we're just a one-stop sign community, but I just wonder, and this is just, it's dear to my heart because I see what it's done to the community that I'm from in Oklahoma. You guys, it's progress that you want to be sure you want to bite that bullet before you receive that bullet.
That's right.
Okay, and read all the little lines, know what it's responsible for, know what you're required to put up, to make, to do other than just rezoning these lots. And I think that's enough for me to say right now. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. But as you can tell, it's dear to my heart. Yes, sir.
In my reading, I haven't seen any of those critical fragments of bullet, okay? Not saying that there isn't,
Okay,
but if there is,
okay.
please specify to us
Okay.
what the problem
They
is.
were spoken today as far as the walkability
Okay, but
is
is
one.
that a bullet? Is that
It's a-
detrimental or is that positive?
It can be a buzzword to other inroads of responsibilities to conform to federal regulations that maybe in this grant, you are not really saying yes to.
I understand, but
Okay.
if there's an
Yeah.
opposition, specific opposition that you can pull out of these grants, let us know. Because
Okay.
it is
Okay.
possible we missed it,
Okay,
okay? I'm not
Because-
gonna argue
yeah.
that we can miss
Right.
things, we certainly can.
right. I just,
But
yeah.
if there is a problem,
Mm-hmm.
please specify it as opposed to having these general, oh my
Okay.
gosh, I don't know and I don't wanna know, so therefore there's a problem.
Okay, I understand that. I think what I want to do is say, are your eyes open to what is happening to other communities when they receive grants and the responsibilities from just buzzwords that I could hear? I was going, whoa, wow, is it? And so just in that way, but yes, thank you.
Just a comment, we moved here 5 years ago, my wife and I. We were gonna build, we were a part of the baby boom retirement boom. So we were bringing significant money, we could pay cash for a home. We decided to buy in town because it was so walkable. One of the benefits of this beautiful little town, it's compact, it's within a mile and a quarter. Even from Silver Cliff, you can walk to Main Street.
Right.
In a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
This piece of land we're talking about, one of the things that's attractive about it it's walkable to Main Street, walkable to school, it's adjacent to a park, it's perfect for young families. But that's not being imposed on us. That's just the fact of who we are here in West Cliff. We have walkability, which is a nice, very nice feature of living in small towns.
Right, I understand
And
that.
do you live
There
in the
is a
town
whole-
or in the county?
No, I'm 10 miles out off of Horn Road.
Okay.
But there is a whole another definition and a deeper, I'm sorry, you understand, I'm not explaining, a whole nother level
If you're
to
saying.
that whole world. And all you have to do is Google 15-minute cities.
Yep.
And it'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
And so I don't, that's all I'm gonna say. And I'm just gonna sit down. I just appreciate you guys so much because you're listening, you're here, and I just appreciate just what you're trying to do. I mean, as far as just bring the community together in a peaceful agreement. So Christy, I could just see your purpose there. I appreciate that. Thank you.
15-minute cities do already exist in Europe. And there is a underlying infrastructure buildup to do the same thing in the United States of America. I'm telling you, and I can get you the stuff, it takes me some time. But the other thing I wanted to say, Caleb said is what, I can't remember, $2 million grant
So
and
1.5.
the city, okay, 1.5. And the city lays out 300,000, then you get that freed up 1.2. Well, it's not fairy dust falling out of the sky. It comes out of taxpayers, the state of Colorado.
Including us.
Yes. Again, that would be tax money that we would never have received and would go to other towns rather.
There you go.
Maybe our town doesn't want it.
So I just need to get a consensus from this board. What do you guys want to do? We can't make a motion in.
I think we're gonna have to do a workshop and try to set something up with the other governing bodies, regardless what they are.
You might need to do it at Lane Hall.
But I mean, we have to do it open to the public, but invite, the others in. And I realize, I think you've got a fair point. It is more bureaucracy. It is, on the surface of it, an attempt to shift the problem to other people coming up with a solution instead of us doing our jobs. But I don't see that we have much of a choice.
But I don't agree. I mean,
But you don't have to agree with
well, yeah, but the reason I don't is that because our whole county has 5,500 people, I think if we're going to DOLA looking for a grant, and then they're like, hey, do you know that Custer County just came and asked for a similar grant? Why are you guys working together?
I understand, but what I'm saying though is that I don't want that opportunity or that taking that up just to shift higher density housing into West
Oh, no,
or into
I
Silver
don't
Cliff.
want it, I totally agree.
That's
Yeah.
my concern.
Well, I would like to get their input, like we've talked about that, we talked about it here, Twyla's right, I'd like to hear what they define as their needs and what they're doing about it.
Fair enough.
And we could do that at a regular planning committee.
Have them come here.
And, so the public's always welcome to those, of course, so,
I still think we need to reach out to the people that own
I would like to do
property.
We have, that is a part of the rezoning act process. They have been reached out to and they are.
We sent them letters.
But I know that, but have we just reached out to the ones that touch the town property, or we reach out to everyone, like I'm gonna say from Fifth to Third, that whole.
Within 200 feet, that is the ordinance.
Which is even the ordinance, the courteous thing to do is to do the neighborhood. That's pretty close.
That's what these meetings are for. There are public there. And again, this is a West Cliff meeting, not a Custer County meeting.
It's a West Cliff meeting, but it's not a
It's
county
okay, I don't
problem.
live in my house.
And it's not fair to put the whole choice on one person for so many empty lots.
Charles?
This entire subject has opened a bag of not problems, but concerns that everybody has. As has been said, this is the planning commission and they are trying to get a grant to put infrastructure on the other side of Hermit. And it just so happens that one of the benefits of the grant, or if they were able to get it, was to do some kind of multifamily housing. And if it's not zoned as multifamily housing, the chances of getting that grant to get that infrastructure over there is probably zero. And I believe that this is multiple issues. And the concept of trying to get the grant was just touching on, well, this would help with the affordable housing issue in the area, right? Caleb's proposal isn't gonna solve the affordable housing issue or the fact that we need this type of housing. That's something that's shared community-wide, West Cliff, Silver Cliff, and the county. So I do agree that there ought to be some kind of cooperation between those three to try to solve this. But at the root, Caleb's trying to figure out if we can rezone those acres down there or partial of it to try to get some infrastructure over there. If this doesn't happen, it'll be another 40 years or 50 years before there's
And
any
you're paying that
infrastructure.
tap fee every month.
So I was just,
I'm sorry, Chuck, I'm sorry.
it's just trying to get some infrastructure over there and the affordable housing was just a caveat of if this was approved. It's not gonna solve the problem. We're just gonna try to help the town of West Cliff get infrastructure over there.
If you have a density of 300 to 500 people in a small area, you also have more chances of a higher crime rate because a lot of times jobs are not gonna be there. And I am all for affordable. But a density where people start being frustrated and then also the landlord problems. I've been up to 2 apartments up in Silver Cliff. And sometimes it seems like they're a little bit dangerous to go up and down because they're not being maintained. And so once you guys lose control, who's going to see that those apartment buildings are gonna be maintained and not be downgraded and then have people, even the people that live there, they wanna live in a nice place and keep things up. So who's going to see that the landlords take care of it? I have a lady being moved out of a house because it was a slum neighborhood and nobody made him take care of it. Yes, it was a single property, but so high density also means more apartments. And more smaller apartments.
We seem to have a little more active of town manager.
Pardon me?
I said we seem to have a little more active of a town manager, making sure things are in compliance. We are, pardon me if anybody's here is from Silver Cliff, but our town in general is better managed.
He does a wonderful job. I'm just opposed to a high density area.
Well, but you brought up the issue of who's gonna take or make sure that a landlord is doing his part of.
And it's Caleb going to be here 10 years from now.
Sure. Unless we run them out.
I would ask one other question pursuant to what Chuck said. So if you rezone and you put the infrastructure in, and the county gets it, or the town gets in that money, you're gonna have to pay a tap fee for every one of those taps every month until there's something there. No?
No.
You don't have to pay a minimum?
Whoever the owner would purchase that tap.
Oh, okay, so the infrastructure will be in there and there would be no cost.
Until
That's the
something's built.
infrastructure Until developers in there.
No property owner would hook up.
And you won't get any money.
And I have one more question, because Caleb, you said you're gonna maybe split up some of those lots further to the west and have like maybe 2 tiny houses per lot.
The town would not split up any lots, that'd be up to the owner, they would have the option to do so.
Okay, does that mean that they have to have a tap per house?
What Round Mountain does is up to Round Mountain.
Does that mean that they would have
This
to
is,
have
this
a
is
tap per
zoning.
house?
Yes.
Okay, so then that's 60 grand for one lot.
So does anyone else have any discussion, on the board here?
I think, I don't have anything to add, but I think it's been a good discussion. I thank everybody for the input, and I personally learned a lot from listening to you folks, and I think I'm gonna factor that all into how I work with this committee, and anything else, Chris or John.
Caleb, how many people of those areas have we heard back from out of the 25?
Well, somewhere here in this room, I've gotten a couple of emails, and one call from one that at least I remember from Washington. Yeah, that was in, Washington.
Yep.
That she said she was for it as long as it was well thought through. So, I mean, if you want staff to send more letters out to try to get their, have them come to a meeting specifically, that, we can do that. If that's.
That might be, yeah, we might need to do that again as well. I mean, I can say that in general, I don't see this as an absolute, but in general, I do think that the property owner, that's where I would tend to vote, is for whatever the property owner wants for his property. Now, not to say that the community at large shouldn't have a bit of say about their concerns and this and that, and that's not what I'm claiming. But I do know that on my property, I damn well want to be able to do what I want to do. Within limits, I mean, I can't do, I can't build up to 65 feet on my property, and I'm not claiming that's what I want, but trying to find out what the property owners as a whole want is important. I don't know what we can do for property owners that don't want it. I mean, I realize that the issues it gets a lot thornier than just having an ideal and saying, I'm gonna stick with my ideal. I don't know how I'll vote.
Well, I think, if we do reach out, and I don't know if it's by phone or how we need to do it to get, because I have folks who live out of town, and find out their opinions, then maybe that will help us design a
better plan.
Have a better plan in place that takes into account some single family houses, some apartments. I mean, like we talked about before, we can kind of make our own zone out there, and it could address the issues of housing, and it could also address the issues of folks that maybe want their single family out there.
Each block could have its own special zoning.
I mean, whatever, I mean, just that. I don't know about that, but.
According to the existing plan, we're not looking at having one kind of zone for the whole,
Right.
for the whole area.
It could
It
be
is
a little
some
more
mix.
eclectic, of an eclectic mix, I guess. I
Could
would
be a
say.
planned development.
Right.
Can I suggest that someone other than Caleb gauge that interest, because he's too close to this?
Like, what, you mean like someone other than Caleb reach out to the property owners out
Anybody
there?
else? Yes.
I don't know if that would be like a clerk's.
That's what I did.
That do that,
Yeah, I
so
did that, yeah.
so we have clerks that definitely take care of that. I don't think it would be appropriate for like a board member to reach out, 'cause that would maybe like skew us, so. But yeah, and then I don't know, because next month we've got that pretty big
We got a meeting next month too.
So I don't know.
Not this issue, but.
Not this, but another. So I don't know if we should wait until, and that gives a little more time to work on it till September to bring this up again.
Actually, that does bring up a point though. Next month is about a private property owner that owns 9 lots in a development in town that wants to put multifamily housing in. If we don't do something, take care of something ahead of time in a planned way, those are the arguments that we're gonna be getting into. And it's gonna be more chaotic, less planned, less intent. With intent, we can kind of control the way things look, whether or not it's a 2-story or 3-story. We're definitely not gonna do a 4-story, I don't think anybody.
You can say that, that's what people pick up.
No, I know, no 4 stories. 3 stories, we could even do something like a garden level, 2 stories above that and a flat-ish roof. So it's not like sticking proud to the world. I mean, there's creative solutions, and that's what I hope we're all looking for. That's certainly what I'm looking for. Suggest things. You know, instead of just telling us no, say what we can do. Say what would work for you guys. Help us out.
I know that Melanie will, I think she gets to write this verbatim.
Yes,
Sorry
I do.
about that.
Oh, sorry.
But I've been taking notes as well, so I'm just gonna kind of start, you know, keeping tally of what people are saying, that there were some positive things said in
Oh, sure.
here. It was like hard to hear, maybe a little bit.
But
There
I
were a lot of
mean,
negative
in
things.
a solution sense though,
Yeah.
what I mean, we've got probably, at least the way I heard it, is more caveats and concerns over doing something, which is fair. But we also need to come up with solutions. And yes, sir.
The thing that stuck out to me in the whole discussion was what you said, that Silver Cliff had already moved this direction and had 19 lots. Is that correct?
Yeah, I disagree that the market will take care of this. If it was gonna do that, it would have.
Okay.
The 19 lots in Silver Cliff, let me be clear, because this is exactly what you're dealing with here. 7 of those are on single lots, okay, zone single family, all right? The other 12 are on a singular block in Silver Cliff. And to build what classifies, what characterizes as affordable, all right, we've got to make a zoning change there. We're running the same conversation again. And this is about housing the people that work and live here now, not outsiders. It's the people that serve you day in and day out, particularly you that are year-round residents. I'm a year-round resident. We need the year-round businesses to have employees. And, you know, low income is a relative term. It costs a damn much to live here now. You gotta be $60,000, $80,000 a year to be up in the middle income. So let's get over those kind of terms. Now, we're gonna have to deal with the same thing in Silver Cliff, and we're willing, and we've been held up because of the Round Mountain moratorium, or we a year ago went further down the road. But it's not a complete solution because somehow you have to finance that. Somehow you gotta finance that. Private financing doesn't wanna do that because what you can return on a rental for someone that is not stressed, that is 30% or less of their income, doesn't pay back. So somehow you have to have gift money, okay? Get some of our tax money back from the state or federal government. So this, and let me also say, because poor Caleb, he's worked hard. We meet monthly. The county's Workforce Housing Committee meets monthly. And Caleb and Isaac Selden, the building and zoning guy in Silver Cliff, attend our meetings. And part of why they attend our meetings is because we're trying to exchange information and learn about each other. Silver Cliffs, the planning and zoning rules come from a completely different philosophical point of view than what West Cliffs planning and zoning's point of view comes from. They're not compatible. So there's a reason to talk. Now, make a workshop, I don't know about that. But we meet now, and I'd like to see more people show up. Our meetings are hosted on the county's website under the Workforce Housing Committee.
When are your meetings?
The second Wednesday of every month, except August, we're gonna meet Thursday the 8th. And it'll be posted on the website, the county's website for committees.
What time?
Let me just ask you a question. How long you been meeting?
I've been part of this for a year and a half.
How long has Workforce Housing Committee?
Some of us started this
4 years.
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah, now let me say,
All right. 8 years ago, Charles, did you say?
Yeah, my memory goes away, but
What have you accomplished?
I'll tell you what they accomplished. The data that Caleb is using there came from a thing called the R or the N2 database. That committee put together that and got it funded. It takes a huge amount of work to seriously develop housing. And there's so much background work that nobody ever knows about. That's what that committee worked on. And they actually were that close to a $4 million grant last January. And because we couldn't get taps and because we couldn't get pricing out of a developer in time, the grant timing passed by. So there is work that's been done. There's a lot of effort. We need to understand more. And we also need to get off this bent of that these are some other people coming from some place. They're not. They're the people that serve you day in and day out right now. Look them in the eye the next time you see them and ask if maybe they're a single mother going home to a shared apartment with somebody they barely know because that's all either of them can afford. I'll shut up.
So,
I just have one
so
objection to what
workforce,
What I said? Okay.
If every property owner can do anything that they want to do with their property, why is Candace bothering to clean up the town? Because if I want to have all these things in my front yard, I should be able to do that.
If I may clarify, ma'am.
We stay on board here.
yeah, that's getting a little off topic, and you were a little flippant, like, I don't think you mentioned that official.
I don't believe in a free run. That's not what I was trying to claim. But within the boundaries of the law, of reasonable expectations, I tend to favor the rights of the property owner. That's all I'm claiming. Is that an absolute? No, because different situations bring up different problems.
Could you tell me what time workforce that meeting is?
3 o'clock. And it's in the school district annex building, across the parking lot to the west side from the school district.
Okay, so I just want everyone to know, if you didn't hear all that, that workforce housing typically, except for this August, meets monthly on the second Wednesday of every month at 3 o'clock in the annex of the school. What's it officially called?
The school board annex building, administration building, next to the laundromat.
Okay,
There you go.
yeah, I understand now. And we are going to discuss this again in our September meeting. In the meantime, try to reach out to the property owners out there. We definitely want to look at what kind of development we can do on that south side of Hermit, but we don't know what that looks like yet.
We'd be able to move to August meeting, make the August meeting earlier than 3. September pushes it out. It would still have to go in front of the board. And if I were to apply for the grant, it would need to be sometime before December to get some sort of conclusion.
I just don't see how we can add more to the I think that the August, based on what the last one was like, it's gonna be big and long, and I don't know if we do that then. But again, I'm just one vote, so it's up to you guys. I'm not in support of that. I'm in support of moving it to September, but I need to know the consensus of the board here.
I would, I do agree the next meeting is gonna be, it's gonna be pretty hot and contentious, so I don't think we're gonna have the time to pick up another matter on the agenda. I don't know what, Chris?
Unfortunately, I don't agree.
I would agree to have to do it a different day.
And then
I'm going for a workshop. Caleb, I think you're gonna find out that we may have to change our whole strategy with that property over there and what we wanna do with it and so forth. Because other than rezone the whole thing, maybe just do our portion of it, the town's ownership of it, and do a grant for that, something like that. So it's clear that many of the property owners or the neighbors here are very concerned about adding 500 people. That's as much as we've got in the town right now, 550. So double the size of the town. I don't think that dog's gonna hunt. And so I think we gotta do what we can do for our existing workforce needs, and try that on for size.
And so we do have the option of having another planning commission meeting that's not on the month at the first of the, you know, you have a separate one, is what I'm saying.
the week of the 14th, like a workshop,
The week of August 14th.
if that works for the commission. It falls on another Wednesday, I think, Wednesday, I think the 7th would be our next meeting on August.
Yeah.
So I would maybe suggest on the 14th, the week after.
I mean, I'm good that week.
Is that a special meeting or a workshop, Kristen?
That, I think it needs to be a workshop.
So those are private?
No, nothing is private. Nothing is private.
By law, we are not allowed to do things.
So, I mean, I'm
What day did you say?
the 14th, is that what you said, Caleb?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm good the 21st too, I
I can do the other days than Wednesdays.
Yeah, do we have to do a Wednesday?
The 13th would work.
I can do it besides Wednesday.
I'm good on the 13th too. Oh, are you there in that?
As long as we're done before 6 o'clock.
Good luck.
Well, it's a workshop, so it's not gonna.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good until Wednesday, that is.
Maybe Wednesday, the 13th, please, everybody,
Everybody be quiet, we're still meeting here.
maybe the 13th at 3, is that your consensus? or-
Paul says he can't do that week.
No, okay, what about the week of the 21st?
I could do the 21st, and it doesn't have to be at 3 for me.
No.
Whatever.
No, it doesn't need me either. I can do it anytime on the 21st. What about you, Chris?
There's nothing that, 21st wouldn't be great. I could probably do it. Yeah, I can do that. I have
Well,
it earlier. Sure.
21st. Works for me.
So we did the schedule a planning commission workshop on August 21st at noon here.
In that vein, do we need to make a motion to get Caleb to invite the other bodies?
Well, we don't have anything
How do
on
we
the
need to-
agenda, so we can't make a motion, but we could ask him to do that.
The office staff will be doing that, yes. The office staff, well, they told me not to, there's a conflict of interest, so you do it.
And of course, any of the workshops, any of the meetings, town board meetings, planning commission meetings are all open to the public. They are posted Where else are they posted?
They're on the website under the calendar and then they're posted under government, says planning commission, and then it's posted on the.
And do they post in the papers as well still?
Just hearings, not public hearings.
Okay.
But any citizen can give us an email and we can add you to that agenda list for planning commission and the board of trustees. And you will get the entire packet as well as the agenda.
God, it's one idea for everything, we don't have to dig through it.
No, yeah, it'll have it on the agenda, essentially everything. Yeah.
So just know that that's your option as citizen. So right now we have planning commission meeting, a workshop scheduled for August 21st at 12 o'clock. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss? Otherwise, I will entertain motion.
Got a question for you.
Okay.
I would strongly urge the planning commission and everybody that can attend this gentleman's meeting. I'm with the planning commission in Silver Cliff, and he knows exactly what he's talking about, and he speaks the truth. Talking with Silver Cliff about the issues here, I think can help everybody a lot. And instead of trying to just stick it all into the West Cliff, I think you just share it and do it together. And listen to the gentleman, his group of people, before you do any workshops. I think it's gonna help you a lot, get your decisions a lot. And one question for you, if you do by some miracle get this passed, and the homeowners or whoever owns the building that these are in, who's gonna take care of them when they have a problem? People I've been involved with over the years, the homeowners are out of state. And everybody I've been involved with has problems like that. It's got a lot of problems. So is that something down the road, or are you gonna think about that, or is that you wait till you get there? It's, I strongly, even everybody that you can, everybody on this group should really attend this meeting. I really encourage that, strong.
Small room.
Yeah, small room, so you feel free to be there.
Be friendly.
Yep, it's very friendly.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I second it.
Motion's made, second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you for taking time. I don't know what it's like.